Jeremy White Podcast. Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Available wherever you get your podcasts.
The Jeremy White Podcast.
With Bustan. For the best Lebanese cuisine in Montreal, it's got to be Bustan. Visit bustan.ca.
And loudtracks.com. Helping fans connect to their favourite artists. 100% high quality, officially licensed band merchandise that supports the artists you love. Visit our official band merch store at loudtracks.com. Watch the Jeremy White Podcast exclusively on YouTube.
Hey,
what's up? What's happening?
How are you, Jeremy?
Okay, so first of all, I just grabbed my guitar out of sheer fluke. I was like, you know what? We're going to be talking guitars. I might as well just like grab one, right? And then you got one, so it worked out.
Dude, I love the paint job on there. Are we recording?
Yeah, it's already recording. So, yeah, so this guitar actually is like my signature guitar. It's like, it was sort of, I built this last summer, and it's an homage to Eddie Van Halen, I mean, who we'll talk about, but it's also an homage to Phil Collin of Def Leppard.
Yeah.
So it's got the Eddie colors, but it's got the Phil Collin splatter.
Love the paint splashes. Is that your signature? That's how you sign your checks? You just grab some paint on it.
As long as there's three people, you sign it X or splatter the ink. It's good.
Yeah, man.
I wasn't smart. I didn't bring like an amp to plug into. So, but that's okay. You can play.
Oh yeah, I just compulsive habit. This is it's like Linus in the security blanket, man. The guitar.
Yeah, you just feel so much more comfortable with it.
Yeah. So, man, how you doing? How old are you, man? You're like 12.
I know, right? I'm super young, but I feel old as fuck. So there's also that.
I think you're like a crossover soul. You got the old soul and the new soul all mixed together in the radio.
Yeah. I'm like double threat. I'm 26, so.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
26 and killing it.
Yeah, dude, I started in pop radio when I was 17 years old. And,
oh shit.
Yeah, so that's what I do. That's my day job. But the podcast is the complete opposite of that. So it's like, talk to the rock guys, talk to musicians, just the complete opposite of talking to Dua Lipa on the weekend, which is the day job, and then talk
but
to...
I love all that stuff too, man. See, I love the pop music.
Me too.
That stuff sounds great on the stereo. I mean, in the car, a good
I got to tell you, man, like, you listen to the pop records of today, and they sound great, when you stream them. Everybody stream. Nobody buys the CDs really anymore. The fans will buy like the LPs. They'll want to get the 180 gram vinyl. And I also found that artists are making it a lot more accessible to fans now because they'll give them an incentive. Okay, I have a limited edition. I have 1,000 copies autographed on my website, and that encourages fans to go buy a physical copy. Yeah. But the thing about modern pop music, I find it sounds so much better through FM processing. So if you're driving through LA and you listen to Kiss FM, or you slap on and you hear The Weeknd, and it sounds so massive through the FM processing. It sounds so good.
Yeah, well, every tune is mastered for all this. Mastered one way for vinyl, one way for CD, one way for Spotify, and one way for the radio.
Mastered for iTunes.
You got to get like 7 different masters for every song you do if you're doing it for real.
It must get expensive too.
Yeah, man. So anyway, pop. Yeah, we're talking about Van Halen, and he loved the pop music. Those guys, I finally really checked out the Dave Clark 5, which Van Halen was into, and it's like rock pop. Almost like surfer. It's great.
Well, a lot of that music was, like you said, it was based in sort of in pop. It made people dance. It was dance music in reality.
Yeah, totally.
And you hear Dave talk about it all the time. He's like, Van Halen was a rock band that could get the chicks to dance, and as long as you get the chicks moving, the dudes will show. So,
yeah, that's the truth, man. Yeah, I love.
What kind of guitar is that you got there? What is that?
This is a Jeff Beck Strat. I've got a few different Stratima jammers. This is a Jeff Beck Stratocaster. Wow. Vaguely in tune.
Sounds great.
Oh man, thanks to Mr. Beck and Mr. Leo Fender.
Is it safe to say that the Strat is the greatest guitar of all time?
Well, the Strat is interesting because I think it's the most expressive. And like, if you think about the Strat, and you know, whether you have like a super Strat, like the one you're holding with 2 humbuckers and a middle pickup, or this one's a little more traditional that I'm holding, like how many of the greatest guitar players that we kind of hold in the Mount Rushmore, you got like Hendrix, Van Halen, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Ritchie Blackmore, Yngwie Malmsteen, I don't know,
Steve Vai.
They all basically play these Strat kind of things.
Satch Boogie.
Yeah, there's the list goes on and on.
Was Richie Sambora a Strat guy? He was a Strat guy, right?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm picturing like some super Strats, but maybe some Les Pauls.
Possible. I never liked Les Pauls because I can never play like comfortably with the painted necks. Like ever since I got my first EVH Wolfgang, and it had that really the unfinished, oiled gunstock oil neck, I was just hooked. I was like, oh my god, it's so easy to play this. You slide up and down, and your hand's not sticking to the paint. It's like it feels great, and it looks awesome when it starts to wear. So even this guitar, I got like an EVH Stripe Series replacement neck for this guitar. So all my guitars have the same neck, and it just feels super comfortable whenever I grab one. So I guess it really comes down to personal taste, right?
Personal taste, unfinished necks are great, and not to denigrate Les Pauls, which are the most amazing thing in their own right, but
absolutely.
But here's one thing, back to the Stratocaster. Let me move this back up here. Like the thing about Stratocasters, especially one with a bar that's floating, is people who play Stratocasters and have the kind of command of this and can keep one of these in tune and can get a little bit of the bar happening, get whatever that takes. Get a little Chris Isaac. I mean, all the stuff that we do on a Strat, the floating tremolo where you got to bend a note and then the other string is going to go flat. So you actually have to like bend both strings at once if you want them to be in tune. Like if you go, like if I hit this note, the other one goes flat. So these are all things that there's so much more involved in playing a Strat that when a Strat player hops over to a Les Paul, sure, it's a fatter neck or something.
Yeah.
So we can play it. We can play the Les Paul. But someone who's strictly a Les Paul player, you get them on a guitar like this, it's kind of like getting somebody who drives an automatic transmission and put them on a manual car. Like, what's this clutch pedal? How do I use it? So
every Les Paul player right now is offended. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. I can play a Strat.
I've had Les Paul player. I'm not trying to create two different camps because I love them all. But
I think there is two different camps. I mean, I really think there's a specific portion of the population that's either pure Les Paul or pure Strat, and they don't deviate.
Meanwhile, Telecaster players are going, Tellies are the best guitar, period. And I think they're right when it gets down to it. If I had to be stuck with one guitar, it'd be neither a Strat or a Les Paul.
Really? You'd go for a Telly? I just bought my first ever Telly a couple of weeks ago at Steve's Music here in Montreal, and it was a super cheap Squire. It was like $200, like brand new off the shelf. You're really just paying for the paint job. It's like this like really thick nitro orange finish, and I'm playing it. It's got an unfinished neck, and it feels great. And it's got cheap Chinese pickups. Like eventually I'm going to change all the guts, but it sounds amazing.
Well, as any Telly player will tell you, you can play any style on a Telecaster. You can play soul, rock, blues, jazz. You can get away with some hard rock. I mean, look at Richie Kotzen, and you can get some good Malcolm Young kind of tones from a Telecaster. You can do anything with a Telecaster. Funk, country. How could I leave out country? Yeah, it's the one guitar, and also the sonic sort of power of the Telly, like the different sounds it makes. I'm stuttering to death. I'm only on 3 hours of sleep, but I'm totally energized to be with you today, Jeremy. I was recording all night.
Yeah. But what are you recording? What are you working on?
Well, I'm doing some. No. Well, I always have a few things going. I have a new song coming out, but that's already recorded. It's a version of Blue. Maybe I'll play
that one.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun way of playing it. I play it on a baritone guitar. This is not a baritone guitar, but I'm rushing through it, but
wow. That's cool.
I mean, I'm always attracted to a great melody. You find a great melody or a great riff, and I'm all over it.
You know, at the end of the day, is if you can sing it, you're probably going to remember it.
Yeah.
You know? You think of some of the greatest guitar solos ever, you know, or even just like, you know, the greatest songs of all time. You can hear the melody in your head. You think of something, you know, Whitney Houston, How Well I Know, dun, 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 dun. Or you go jump, might as well jump, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
it's really melody.
Great melody is everything. I mean, that's, you know, I always tell, I don't do that much teaching, but when I have students, I'm like, find a song and you're going to play the melody all the way through it. Like, it could be Sleepwalk or something. You're going to lead the song. I mean, it's a really, can you lead a song with your guitar just playing single notes? I mean, Jeff Beck is obviously one of the greatest of all time.
Master of it. Hank
Marvin from the Shadows. I love these players that play melodically. Lukather, you just had Lukather on. He's a great, it's single note, man. He gets that vibrato. I think of like his solo on Dirty Laundry. I don't know what key that's in. I mean, he's got that sick vibrato. If you can make that one note sing.
It's all in that vibrato, man. It's all in the feel. You listen to some guitar players and they're just so robotic, and then you hear something like that and it's just like...
Neil Sean.
Yeah.
He plays the melodies, man. He plays the vocal melodies, you know? You know, if you get that, Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah. Street lights, people, whoa! Like he goes up on the fret, yeah.
And I'm a fan of Jeremy, man. You got the range too.
Yeah, I have more than 3 hours sleep, so I could belt it out now.
I would rupture my spleen if I tried to sing that note you just sang.
Yeah, I learned how to sing by listening to Mutt Lange records, so I have a bit of range. But I want to talk to you about this. You know, just to sell a little bit of product here. You know, you got the Guitar Player magazine special edition tribute to Edward Van Halen.
Oh yes, now, this calls for the Van Halen guitar.
Yeah, grab a Van Halen guitar. So that's on newsstands now. Perfect stocking stuffer for the Van Halen fan in your life, or somebody that you think should be introduced to Edward Van Halen and isn't familiar with them, which they should be, because the man's an absolute legend, the greatest guitar player of all time, in my eyes. And, you know, obviously we lost him way too early this year, and his magazine really is, you know, I think it's a fantastic tribute to the man, the myth, the legend. And so what went into creating the article and putting all of that together?
Oh, man. Well, you know, I declare this a year of mourning until next October 6th, a year of mourning, Mr. Eddie.
Minimum.
Yeah, just like, you know, just celebration of everything he did. And I was driving down the street and my friend texted me, EVH dead or Eddie Van Halen dead. Like my stomach fell out. That's never happened to me when so many great celebrities that we've lost over the years who I love dearly. But when I heard that Van Halen was gone, and I knew he was fighting cancer, I knew he'd
we all knew
a couple times for some very special treatments, which was kind of ominous.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big one, man. I didn't even think about what we were going to do at the magazine, you know, and then... No,
because you took it as a personal loss right off the bat. I mean, somebody like that has such a significant impact on your life. I described it to a friend of mine who has no idea, doesn't give two shits about Van Halen's music. And I said to him, like, dude, when you grow up and you have somebody like that make such an impact on your life, it really is like losing a close family member, because they were there for you through the shit, through the good times, through the bad. And now, knowing for me, it's like that was the one guy. Edward Van Halen was the one guy I always wanted to meet. And never had the chance, obviously. But it's like, now I know that, A, we're never going to get to see Van Halen ever again. And all that talent and that ability, and just like, it's just gone. You know, obviously the music lives, but it's like, the man, it's still hard to process. Yeah,
it's hard to imagine he's not on the planet, or that we're not someday going to meet him again, or he's going to... talk about the new release. And yeah, I mean, in the history of electric guitar, I mean, I'm not going to say who the greatest guitar hero was, but if you look at the wave of guitar, like through the 70s and 80s, when rock guitar, loud guitars became a thing.
Yeah.
Where music packed arenas, and most of it was guitar music. That was a huge wave. And now everything's like, there's a million bands and no real huge bands now. It's a little different now. It's like we got a million bands, which is great too in its own way. But when that tsunami was peaking, the one guitar player who surfed it the highest and the longest, played to the most people, put out the most records, sold 300 million records or something, all powered by his guitar. That was Eddie Van Halen. The one person who had a sound that you just see these red, white, and black stripes. You just look at him. Could be just a square or a license plate frame or something. You can hear his sound. Like his effect, he just created something so identifiable that by those measures, not to mention how many people started imitating him or all the techniques that he pioneered, or and again, a lot of them he didn't even invent, but he pioneered them. He made them what they are.
Right.
Obviously, he wasn't the first guy to tap, but he's the first one that anyone noticed tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Or harmonics, man, like like Mean Street.
Love that intro, Mean Street.
This stuff. I mean, like, these are basic things, but he grabbed those harmonics and he said, I'm going to own these things. Like nobody did as much as he did. So by some measures, you could say that, yeah, he was the greatest of all time as far as electric guitar plugged into amps. His gear, he had the gear dialed. As far as the Mean Street stuff, like everybody knew you could take a harmonic at the 12th fret, right?
Right. Or tune your guitar. That's every guitar player in every music store.
Yeah, but you got the right before the 4th fret. So it's kind of like these. You got the 7, 5, 4, and 3. Mm-hmm. But that's about as far as anyone would ever even think to go. He's like, well, what if I had that? What if I fretted a note at the 7th fret and applied the same formula? 7. You know what I'm talking about? He would always do that stuff live, right?
Yeah.
Girl Gone Bad. He's like, what does he do?
Yeah.
I love that. Like, he just grabbed it and he took it to the moon. He took everything to the moon.
And, even like the horse noises and all that stuff. And
yeah.
I was talking to Steve Lukather about his the wet, dry, wet setup. Now, this continues to be a mystery and a major portion of the Van Halen community, guitar player wise, because obviously there's a lot of rumor and speculation out there. What was he using in the actual rig? And obviously we're never going to really know. Towards, in the last final tour, like in 2015, he opened up, I think it was Guitar Player magazine, and he showed, the rig and everything. But this idea of this wet, dry, wet setup where you have a dry cabinet in the middle and you have stereo effects going left and right, that is an innovation in itself, because who would have thought, but damn, if I'm playing an arena, you can't really hear the effects. At least if I give the front of house guy 2 extra speakers with just effects, well, then he can turn up my delays, or I mean?
Or
turn them down. Yeah, if you're playing in a cavernous arena, you don't need all that delay bouncing back and forth at the back of the room.
Well, the genius of the wet, dry, wet setup is, number one, you can get your main sizzling tone out of one amp, because if you run effects through that amp, it's going to interfere with the raw. So you have your effects going through separate amps, so you aren't messing with your pristine tone. So that's win number one. The next win is that you can get your sound right where you're standing with all the effects that you want. Mm-hmm. But then chances are, like you said, by the time you're out in the middle of the arena, there's so much echoing going on. If they were to just amplify the echo-laden sound that you're standing in and put that through the PA, it would be too squishy. So the front of house person can bring back the effects. But I don't know how much.
So let me ask you this: it wasn't really like a tone thing then. It was more or less being able to just control the sound more.
Well, I think it's a tone thing there's so much to it. Like, obviously, you get the stereo thing, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. Stereo effects. Secondly, like we were talking about, like you get the pure amp in the middle, man. That's tone right there. You're not running stuff through the effects loop or anything like that. It's just screaming. But then how much effect, like some players use this stuff brilliantly, like the Edge from U2, or I interviewed Johnny Buckland from Coldplay. I mean, he's got an amazing thing going with the effects, and
yeah,
the front of house person knows exactly how to dial it in. I mean, Eddie Van Halen, of course, he always had the cathedral thing, right?
Right. Jude Gold showing off, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, I don't think of it as showing off. I've been playing these licks since I was 13. You know,
you're just having fun. You live these licks. It's life. You have to play
beautiful. them. Wait, how's it go? And Eddie would always do that through his. On the record it was a clean Stratocaster, but live he would do it through his fire-breathing amps. And he'd have that echo, and I think they were going through the cabinets on the outside, probably. I mean, I'm not an expert on his rig.
I still can't play that, and I've been playing guitar since I was 7 years old, and it's like to crank and hit the notes. It's like I can't figure out actually how to I can't get in the rhythm, and I have really good rhythm, but I can't play that. It pisses me off. That's why he's Eddie Van Halen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean. But if you get the right volume pot, and I don't know if I have the right thing going here. I mean,
I've got the Bourne's low friction pot. It's like butter. This thing. It just this guitar. Like I said, it's got all my favorite things in it. But I also find that like I said, I'm more of a rhythm player, and I'm working on an EP right now of original songs, and I'm trying to come up with some interesting melodic, cool, singable solos, but with a little bit more technical prowess. And I can't seem to figure out I did a guitar lesson with Satchel from Steel Panther, and he was telling me that I need to learn an A minor pentatonic scale and then just incorporate that everywhere else on the fretboard. But to develop speed and come around to it, I cannot figure for the life of me hit the right notes.
Huh. Well, I mean, it's forever. Obviously, it's a journey that I'm on the same journey. We're all on the same journey. Satchel, Russ Parrish, he's on that journey with you. We're all trying to get a little better every day, or just because that's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like I was talking about a few minutes ago, just a few years ago, that I realized I think some of the best things anyone can do is learn melodies and riffs. Like patterns are one thing, but that's not really music. Like if you can find a melody and play that, and then really get that to sing so that it's resonating in your guitars, whether it's 3 notes or whether it's 12 notes in the space of 3,
right,
that will help you immensely. Or learn great licks and then you put your own little twist on it.
Yeah,
but just learning straight off patterns is one of the most difficult ways to learn, I think. I mean, you look at all the great guitar players, the Beatles to Van Halen to Hendrix, I'm blanking on other guitar heroes, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah,
they all learned a million songs before they ever got any national recognition. They all had a million riffs and songs in their fingers. And then you just put they start to get maybe 5 or 10% original, put their own stamp on it. I mean, Hendrix did, 90% of his stuff is R&B and rock and blues moves that T-Bone Walker and other people were doing, but he put that thing on it. So if you get that stuff in your fingers, man, and I'm not trying to preach, I'm just telling you in general, my belief is if a player gets this history in their hands, then they'll start to make their own thing with it.
But that's great advice, though, because if you're learning to play all these songs, and like for example, some cover band guitarists are some of the best guitarists ever because of how many styles are they playing.
Yeah, Van Halen was a cover band basically. Their gigs, they used to cover gigs, 3 sets at the clubs in West Hollywood, and then also in the backyard parties. And there's, I always tell people, one day it dawned on me that I think think about Unchained, right? One of the most brutal riffs of all time, Van Halen. And I'll tune down the B string a little bit so the 3rd is in tune. Here, that's how your tuner would have your 3rd B. It's actually a little sharp. Get it in tune with the overtone series. And you got like, oh, wait a second. But to me, that sounds, one day it dawned on me, that sounds a whole lot like Keith Richards. Like, listen to this from Brown Sugar. Wait. Like, if I played that with a Van Halen tone, it would sound like Unchained. I'm gonna play Brown Sugar. Is it Brown Sugar? Is that the song?
Yeah, it's Brown Sugar.
Yeah, I'm gonna play that famous Keith Richards Rolling Stones lick, but I'm gonna play it like Unchained. So once again, it's like these little chords that take place on the second, third, and fourth strings. I feel like they were there, but Eddie just took them up like 6 levels from where they were.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Completely.
I'm always hearing, like, I love that about Eddie. I always hear stuff, you know, you're talking about Lukather. I was talking to Lukather once. I've interviewed him many times, stuff in, I was, because, you know, I mean, this is what we do. We talk to guitar players.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of you, though, talking to everybody. But I was told him, hey, Luke, man, you know, because you know Luke wrote the song, or co-wrote the song, Talk to You Later by the Tubes. Talk to you later.
I don't know that one.
Which is a little before your time, but it was a big hit when I was in junior high school. And now I'm tuning my guitar back up.
I tuned it up.
And the way that song starts is like this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Van Halen has a song that goes...
Little Guitars, yeah.
Came out a year later, Little Guitars. Catch, catch, catch. And I'm like, hey, Luke, man, clearly Eddie was influenced by... He kind of borrowed that from you, right? Luke's
Would
like,
he admit it?
No, man. No, Luke just totally took the high road. He's like, nah, man, it's all the blues, man. We're all playing the same stuff, you know. But I hear these moments, and I'm like... And I love that. I love hearing where stuff came from. Like, if you listen to, just to get nerdy here for a second, if you listen to one of the greatest rock songs of all time, speaking of Mutt Lange producing, Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are open chords. And it's just drums and G, like, and the bass doesn't come in.
Yeah, until the chorus.
Into the chorus on the big D chord. Well, to me, that's modeled kind of after the I met her.
Oh, Queen Memphis. Yeah.
That's just drums and guitar.
Right.
It's a little slower. Same key. But it's basically the same 3 chords. And then the bass comes in on the chorus. Like, I love seeing how the DNA might continue from one song that was big in one decade, and a decade later, another band comes along and reinvents it. Again, I'm not saying AC/DC was directly influenced by that, but to me, I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
If I ever interview Angus Young, I'll ask him.
I should ask him too, man, because the only time I ever got nervous.
That's a brilliant question.
Yeah, and it might not even be conscious, you know? But, yeah, one time, I interviewed Angus and Malcolm, rest his soul. It was on a conference call. Mm-hmm. They said, okay, we're patching you through to Angus and Malcolm. Please hold.
I'd be like, oh, God.
That was like the only time I ever got... Just like got nervous, but then it was a great interview. Those guys were awesome, man.
Nice.
Oh, can I tell you a little story too? Like at the end of the interview, I told him that I had the first tribute band I ever had. My friend came up to me. He's like, dude, I want to mix the music of Star Wars and AC/DC. I'm like, really? What's it going to be called? He's like, it's going to be called R2DC.
Oh,
like, yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
So it was fun. So like we'd have like
and then Mutt Lange literally took Star Wars and AC/DC and did Pyromania and Hysteria.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But I would mash everything up. You know, you'd have Back in Black. And over the top of that, I'd have the horn section going. And I told them about
That's awesome.
that. And I have this on tape, man. They were cracking up. Malcolm at the end of the what was the name of that band again? I was like, R2DC. Anyway, that warmed my heart. That was a little...
That's so cool.
Got to give a shout out to my friend Brian Bowman, who came up with that whole concept. It was kind of fun. We did it for like 6 months. It was cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, real quick, we're getting like on 30 minutes here. So one question I have for you, and I talked about this with like a couple of the guitar players that I've interviewed. What do you think it is about modern rock music that is taking everything from the 70s versus modern day pop music that's taking everything from the 80s? And why do you think bands today, and specifically rock bands, are afraid of the 80s sound?
That's an interesting question. Well, I think kind of the heyday of rock guitar started in the 70s with Jimmy Page and then Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Of course, the other big contributors like Ritchie Blackmore and Bad Company and other bands, like that sound is so massive, undeniably huge. The 80s had something right too with the pop realm, because I was there and I hear some of these songs back and some of them sound amazing, but some of them sound comical. But they had the idea with this big drum, like a snare drum that's as big as Colorado, just
cannonball snare drum.
But the mistake, I guess, was that they were really synthetic machines, like cheesy samples with a really bad gate. Like you had Phil Collins come out with In the Air of the Night.
Yeah.
And he did that incredible live drum fill, bug up, bug up, bug up, bug up, that everybody memes on TikTok and everything. It's so funny. But that was live drums with this incredible gate on the room. But you had all these people, these cheesy kind of artificial equivalents in the studio on a lot of 80s songs.
Yeah.
So they were in the right place with their hearts, but it doesn't all hold up. But now I think pop songs are really sounding amazing.
So like the pop songs, like I said, The Weeknd's latest album and Dua Lipa's record, it's just straight up 1986, 1987 production. But then if you listen to the rock bands, you listen to like the closest that I would compare to like 80s sounding ish would be the Struts, only because they're a lot more produced. But then if you go listen to a band like, like a Greta Van Fleet or I was just listening to our local rock station and they were playing some, today hard rock band, and it sounds, it's almost like with the advances in technology, people are stepping backwards and not using it the right way. Like everyone's trying to emulate a rock world. I feel like everybody's trying to emulate that 70s sound. And everybody's so afraid of the 80s. Everyone's guitar sounds like, just plugged into a JCM 800 and it's a Les Paul versus a Super Strat into a Rockman.
Yeah, I think rock might be in a little, every music goes in peaks and valleys. I think we might be in a little bit of a plateau. I think rock's about to blow up with everything that's been happening in the world lately. And I do think rock got a little derivative. Also, I'm personally, that can only speak for myself, but groove music has always been what moves me,
Right.
Sometimes I think some of the new rock bands go for that 70s sound, but they don't always have the groove. If you listen to John Bonham, I think of him as an R&B drummer, really.
Yeah, totally.
That happened to create this rock with Led Zeppelin, and we all consider him to be the greatest drummer of all time, but he's got that pocket, man, the way he hits that snare drum with the rim shot, and as long as there's groove in it, like, what is music without groove, So
well, that's it. It's supposed to get you moving, right?
Yeah, gosh, for me, it was always my first guitar hero is Nile Rodgers, because he was on the radio when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah.
Now I got to clean up.
Freak out.
I'm probably rushing it a little bit here for the show, but yeah, that kind of stuff. Which I think clearly influenced like Another One Bites the Dust, which is another record I love because it had the groove.
Yeah.
Like, groove to me is everything. But pop music too nowadays, if you go into a club where they have the most expensive sound systems, rock is going to sound probably not as good as if you hear like Pitbull or,
Well, it also depends on your engineer, and this is the other thing. I find bands are
mixed though.
Well, that's it. The mix. I find like a lot of bands are afraid of using compression and EQ. It's like I hear some snare drums or some guitar tones, and like they just sound so like flat and just like uninspired.
I'm not picking on rock music. It's in my blood. I'm just saying, logistically, modern systems. If you go to a typical club that has just had, they just opened the doors the other day.
Yeah.
They spent $20,000 on a system. It's going to have subwoofers in the corners and surround sound and tweeters up above.
Yeah.
And that is EQ'd. The whole system is geared towards like 808 bass,
yep,
kicks, and more of a hip-hop kind of electronica kind of thing. And sometimes when you throw in a rock song with a lot of eighth notes and everybody's playing at once, it might not sound as full. AC/DC will sound as full, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It all depends on the production. Mutt Lange would sound incredible on that PA system, but then you put on, the Black Keys, and it sounds like shit.
Yeah, so it's just, there's so many other factors involved in how it sounds. But I'm a fan of all music. I couldn't even begin to tell you.
Me too. Listen, Van Halen's my favorite band of all time, and then Shania Twain's my close second, so.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, sorry, I can't stop playing, but yeah.
No, that's good. Well, dude, it was great to chat with you. We're gonna wrap this up. We don't want to run too long, but leading into the holidays, do you have any tips and tricks for guitar players that are going to be getting a guitar for the first time?
Tips and tricks. I don't know. Just do anything you want on it. Have fun and explore. That's the biggest message that Eddie Van Halen taught us and other musicians have said the same thing, which is never lose that childlike curiosity. Like, go up to it and pretend you don't even know how to play it. And and that's how he came up with so many of his great sounds, because he just went for it. Nothing got in the way of what he was going for. And if you really love it, you can come up with stuff too. I mean, for me, like slapping harmonics, this is directly from Eddie. Well, I use my thumb. I kind of mix the slap bass stuff.
Right.
Like if you got the... To me, that's like half Chili Peppers and half Marcus Miller and half Eddie Van Halen. I know that doesn't add up to one. That's a little bit more than one. There's three halves, but...
Well, to musicians, it makes sense.
And then, I start like maybe slapping, and I'm not making this about me, but this is just stuff that if you just mess around with it, you start coming up with your own stuff. And like for me, Eddie taps the harmonics, or he'll be like,
yeah,
all gone bad. What?
Or even like what he did on like Pleasure Dome, kind of like doing like doing the walk,
Yeah. I don't know what that is. But for me, it's like I realized I could mix the slap bass of Marcus Miller with the Van Halen tapping, and you get the... Just kind of slapping with your thumb.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's... It's have fun, but
guitar is so fun, right? Isn't it? It's just so fun.
It is. My parents, they told me that when I was a kid, I was just super loud. I would run down. This is like family friends have told, like, oh yeah, family friends, like, yeah, when you were 4, you were loud. You would run down the halls banging a pot and stuff.
Nice.
And
here you are.
I think for those personalities, yeah, guitar is the thing. We can be loud with it.
Yep, that's it. Well, the Eddie Van Halen tribute edition of Guitar Player Magazine available now. You can also catch Jude on tour, hopefully next year with Starship, and look up for your new music.
Thank you, man, for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and great to know you.
Just real quick, what's going on with Starship? Are you guys working on some music, or?
Well, we just released an album in August.
Right, it came out in August, right?
Yeah, which is called Mother of the Sun. Got a lot of stuff that we just talked about, in terms of the guitar playing stuff, but also a lot of great vocal tunes, and we're really excited about that. We got multiple videos. We've released a couple of videos for it already. More coming, and next show is March 6th, I think, in San Diego. It's kind of touch and go.
Hello, San Diego.
Yeah, we just did our first social distance show. We flew across the country, went to Connecticut to Foxwoods Casino, and they did a really great job.
You were just down the highway from me.
Yeah, you probably could have heard us. But so, it's very baby steps to see how it's going with this virus and getting out there in the world. But
let me ask you, so how did that socially distanced show go? Like, did everybody's wearing a mask and like sitting like 6 feet apart, or like was it weird?
Well, it's a beautiful theater they have at Foxwoods. I don't know how many people it holds, maybe 5,000, and I think they let like 700 in, and everybody's spaced out, and not just psychologically, but literally spaced out with masks. And it was really great. I mean, it's a little ominous. Like, we did one of those drive-in shows. It's like a little bit bittersweet. Like, we're out there playing, but everybody's out in their cars, and it's just kind of a weird vibe, but it's what 2020 is. It was a little weird afterwards because, like, a couple of people wanted David Freiberg's guitar pick. People always afraid. And the security guard would not let the guitar tech hand them anything. It hasn't been...
Oh, right.
Strict regulations, but it was great. They did such a good job of following all the regulations in order that we could have a show. And then afterwards, everyone was kind of stuck in their section because they wouldn't let everybody just get up and mass exit. You know how it is at a show or a concert or a play or a movie theater. Everyone's next to each other exiting, so they exited kind of like one section at a time. And if you were in the wrong section, you'd probably be there like 25 minutes wait. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but so it was a great
time for 2 more drinks while everybody kind of clears out.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Absolutely no drinking in there because
you weren't allowed to. Really? Oh, because you had to put the mask on.
It was very strict, but it was a really, really wonderful show. I think everybody had a good time. We sure had a good time, and just good to be out there. So,
that's awesome.
It's to live music coming back, man. I hope it comes back soon.
There's my favorite Starship song is called "The Burn." You know that song?
I have to dial it up for you, but there's a lot of them. 15 of tunes.
Yeah, but that's the thing, it's like if I ever get the chance to talk to Mickey
Thomas.
Mickey Thomas, yeah. I'd want to talk to him about recording those songs because they recorded those songs with Mike Shipley, who was Mutt Lange's right-hand man.
Yeah.
So if you listen to that song, The Burn, it literally sounds like a Def Leppard song.
There's some great producers on the history of the Starship, and that's awesome, man. I'm going to listen to it with new ears.
Yeah.
It's just fun to play with stuff.
Yeah, it's called The Burn, and the other one is It's Not Enough. It's not enough to tell me you love me. Like that one. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's got the 80s arena vibe for sure.
Super Def Leppard.
I mean, the biggest song is Jane, which David Freiberg wrote. But Mickey sang it, but in our band, David sings it every night, and it's really fun. And we do it. We put it in drop D and play it down a whole step.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it really rocks. Jane, you're playing a game. And it really rocks. I like doing it down a whole step from the original. I mean, Mickey Thomas has an insane vocal range, so he can.
Yeah. How is Mickey? Do you still talk to him, or?
I've only met him a couple times, but actually once in L.A. I'm not sure if I saw him twice. L.A. Everyone comes through L.A., but
yeah, you kind of see everybody.
I'm friends with the keyboardist for Mickey Thomas, Phil Bennett, and he introduced me. That was a cool little hang, but
nice. All right, man. Dude, it was so great to talk to you and not just be interacting on Twitter. So now we know each other. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for having me, Jeremy, and I love your Twitter presence, man. You just keep it vibrant and alive, and Twitter has been so much less boring since we connected. I've been really digging it.
Well, the other thing with me is that, like, I'm not afraid to voice my opinion. You got some rock journalists that just play it straight down the middle, and I'm just like, listen, I don't care if I ruin the opportunity at getting an interview or something. Like, I'm just going to tell you what I think because I'm a fan first and foremost at the end of the day. So
I love it, man. I mean, I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I mean, it's just, how did you get in at 17? Was your dad in the DJ or something?
No, I started in radio when I was 15. I'm Native American. I'm from a reservation just outside of Montreal, and you can't tell by, my very, cultural appropriated features. But yeah, so I started at my local community radio station here in my town, and we're literally 15 minutes from the metropolis of Montreal. And the station bleeds, and the program director in the city heard me, and so I got my foot in that way.
Fantastic, man. Well, you are kicking butt.
Yeah, and dude, like I said, I play pop music for a living. So this is completely exact opposite of what I do on the radio. So that's why the podcast is super fun for me, you know?
Oh, that's great. You're all over the place. I mean, that's a very important world, the pop world, and I love it, man. Let's go out on some ABBA, man.
Do it.
That was supposed to be Dancing Queen.
There you go. Thursday afternoon, the lights are low. Jude Gold's on the podcast show. Nice.
Wait. Dude, I'll just keep going all day. You're going to have to just kick me off here, but...
Dude, the bass line in Dancing Queen, by the way, I think the bass in Dancing Queen is the greatest bass performance of all time.
Oh, I'll have to dig it and check it out, man.
Dude, go listen to that. Like, seriously, listen with headphones. Just listen how locked in the bass is. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's great musicians. We played in Sweden, and I met the guitar player. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's played in multiple bands. Like, I think he played in the band Suede. And,
man.
He played on Dancing Queen. I'm like, you played on this big ABBA songs? Dude, let me buy you a beer or something.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love the players who maybe don't have the big name, but they've done incredible things, you know?
It's a lot of the behind the scenes guys that that don't get a lot of credit, and they're the ones that, made us put a stamp on our lives, you know?
Yeah, I love it, man. Anyway, let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So where can people find you on socials and stuff? Obviously, guitarplayer.com and all these places.
Yeah, the best thing is probably Twitter or Instagram at just my name, Jude_Gold. Say hello. Yeah.
Go creep them.
No Guitar is Safe. That's a great way to keep. No Guitar is Safe. I interview great guitar players. I've already done 129 interviews.
Wow.
And they have the guitar in their hands, so they're playing, you know. So
that's awesome.
We have guitars, kind of like what you and me are doing today, and we talk guitar, and they show how they create what they created. I just had Nile Rodgers, my hero, on
the other
week, and he talks all about everything from Chic to producing David Bowie and demonstrating how.
Oh, I gotta go listen to that.
It's a lot of fun. Andy Timmons just posted. I just did that episode last night. It's up, and Andy Timmons, what an immaculately wonderful guitar player. Everyone from super famous people like Phil Collin from Def Leppard or Joe Satriani.
Phil Collin, by the way, is like my next, I need to talk to Phil Collin. So that's like my next dream guest.
Yeah. Well, I'll put in an email for you with my connect at his record label.
Oh, dude, if you do that, that'd be amazing. Jesus.
He's a really nice guy. And yeah.
I played with Def Leppard in Vegas. I went to the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp where they did their Viva Hysteria residency.
Yeah.
That was cool. I got to play his actually the London PC1, and that guitar was so cool. But holy shit, is the neck fat on that thing? Yeah,
he's a great player. We played it. We got to sometimes I get to do it in cool locations. We did it in Studio A at Capitol Records building in Hollywood.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So, but yeah, I go everywhere and interview everybody, and it's always a blast. Yeah, you dig that. You were saying that you sang with Van Halen for a second, or?
Oh, dude. So that is a stupid story. So it was 2012 Bell Center in Montreal, and it was during Romeo Delight, and I bought a front row ticket. Okay. So second verse, trying to clip my wings, don't have to show people anything. I know the law, friend. So David Lee Roth points at the cameraman. The 11th hour, I'm going back outside. Show him. Cameraman swivels. It's me on the Jumbotron. Take a ride. I'm your last loose. In the Jumbotron, on camera. And I sang with Van Halen.
That's a killer moment, man. You can't beat that. And
dude, oh my God. Couldn't believe it. And then I caught Ed's guitar pick just before he did the tapping part in Eruption. He threw it right at me. It hit me in the chest.
Now you're killing me. That's unfair. But when I was a kid, I was 13 when I first saw Van Halen, and there's no seats on the floor. It's just a free-for-all. People are getting killed, maybe sometimes, God forbid, but it's just
the old days of concerts. It was like a sardine can.
It's like ripples, like the crowd would move and your feet would get lifted off the ground, and you're just like, are we all going to fall over sideways and just get smothered like that horrible event at the Who concert that happened a few years before?
I think that's one of the things I hope this pandemic changes, the way that festival organizers kind of set up the floor plan. because being like squashed in there the way we do now, or what we used to, it's not healthy.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, I mean, there's pluses and minuses. You'll never forget being up there getting crushed watching AC/DC when you're 12. That was amazing. But
yeah, it's true. Got to make memories somehow.
Here's the best, and then I'll let you go. The best seats I ever got at an AC/DC concert, because I've seen them 3 or 4 times. 4 times. This is a tip that you can do in some cities. You go up to the arena box office the day of the show after they've set up the stage. They always undersell a little bit.
Yeah.
They have these seats either right in front of the stage or right next to the runway.
Yeah, right next to them. I think they call them obstructed view or something.
No, I'm not obstructed.
No.
They just purposely leave a little extra room, I guess, so that they can set up the stage. And then they're like, hey, we can fit 2 seats going all the way up this runway out to the middle. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, and your right side stage.
I got these seats right next to the runway, like 11th row back. Angus and Brian Johnson, of course, Malcolm stayed where he was.
Yeah.
They were right by our side like half the night. It was incredible. And you just
awesome.
walk up to the box office and grab those tickets. So that's a little tip that I'm going to try again next time.
Yeah, totally. You want to get as close as possible, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. And my friend had bought tickets like 3 months earlier, and they sold out so fast that he was up in the second deck of the San Jose Arena.
Jeez.
Or the Oakland Coliseum, where the Warriors used to play. And we're sitting up there day of. We bought those tickets right. He was there. That's how it goes.
I would have been pissed. I'd be like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, so...
I only saw AC/DC once. It was the Black Ice Tour at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. I was maybe 15th row, something like that. And the Olympic Stadium's a terrible place to see a concert because it's just like a bowl, and the reverb is just, it's so bad. It's like, I think it's like 11-second slap or something like that.
Oh, that's brutal. I don't know how. I've played gigs like that where this PA is bouncing off the back wall, and it's, you know how loud PAs are.
Yeah.
The snare drum is coming back at you like a beat and a half later. So the drummer goes, pat, and then they come, pat, and you're hearing the music come back.
Oh, man.
This happened. I was talking to Greg Howe. I interview all these guitar players, and when he did a stadium tour with Michael Jackson, when he first got hired, he went way out onto one of the runways, and he started playing to the echo. So he was off with the band.
Oh.
It's playing to kind of what you're talking about. He's playing to the echo coming off the back wall of the stadium that's bouncing back at his ears. It could be disorienting.
And the whole band is like, what the fuck is he doing?
I mean, I've never played a gig like that, but yeah. These things can happen. It's comedy. I love Spinal Tap stories like that.
Yeah, totally. Well, with the in-ears, you kind of avoid all of that now.
Yeah, nowadays, ears. Yeah.
But it takes away the organicness. Those are good stories,
All right, man. I'm the one, baby.
It's a good way to go out.
All right, man.
What's your favorite Van Halen riff? We'll go out with that.
I don't know. Maybe Mean Street. Kind of in tune, but
nice. Your tone sounds amazing, by the way. That sounds awesome.
Thanks. I'm just, going quiet here through the Blue Guitar Amp 1. It's a pedal amp. It's like this big. It's like the size of 2 or 3 regular pedals, and it's a 100-watt amp with a micro tube on it. It's called the Amp 1 from Blue Guitar, and great travel amp. Put it through a 4x12, and you have like a 2 or 3 channel Marshall, basically.
I'm gonna go check that out.
Do it.
Yeah.
All right,
man. Great to chat with you, and we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
I'll send you this link when it's up.
Sweet. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Peace.
Talk soon. Peace. Later.